This is DJ Blue, and joining us from Radio Unifurse is Danny Weinkauf. Best known as part of the rock band They Might Be Giants, he's produced hundreds of tracks created for television, commercials, and movies, and his most recent solo children's album, No School Today. Thank you for sitting down and talk for a bit.
Thank you for having me.
I'm curious, when did you start your signature red pants trend?
My signature red pants trend. I guess in the mid-90s, I bought my first pair of red Levi's jeans. At the time, they were very difficult to find, and I found them in a vintage store. I don't think it didn't become a thing until the fans decided that it was a thing, actually. It was the TMBG fans that sort of picked up on the fact that I wore red pants occasionally and started making comments if I didn't. So there would be little comments online or something, we saw TMBG tonight, Danny didn't wear his red pants, or I would run into some of the fans outside the building before the show and they'd say, oh, you're not wearing your red pants tonight. So I wound up buying more pairs. I had like 4 pairs, and then I would wear them more often, maybe every other show would be one of the red pairs. And yeah, so it was, the fans are really what made me do it more. And then later on, I started my own music company for composition and stuff for my television music, and wound up calling it Red Pants Music. And now I have a music label that I release singles and maybe albums in the future on called Red Pants Music as well. And yeah, so now it's stuck to me.
If you want to go to the label, do you have a website to promote?
My website is very simply DannyWeinkauf.com. The only unsimple part is my last name is spelled Weinkauf.
In 2014, Radio Unifurse joined the Dial Song Network, and we've been airing the project weekly. Could you describe the development of Dial Song and your involvement with the project?
Sure. Well, the development started years and years ago. It initially was a service where you would call a 718, a Brooklyn number, and get an answering machine that had recordings of snippets of songs or full song ideas or whatever John and John could come up with at the time. It was just the two of them doing it. And, that lasted years. And then, this is sort of the revamped, the high-tech version of Dial-A-Song that we're doing now, which is a weekly video with a new song each week. For 2015, as you guys are broadcasting, we will have a different song for every week of the year. And as Flanzy comments in the live shows, it's it's a very misguided, in a way. It's a lot of work to do. 52 songs. Just to write the 52 songs would have been enough work. Never mind recording them, coordinating the videos, trying to tour around it, and get all the other things done that we're doing. But it's been great. My part in it is to be supportive, to be playing bass on the tracks, and at some point when we start releasing children's songs as part of it, maybe 1 or 2 of my tracks will be part of the weekly Dial-A-Song.
I've been really impressed with the quality and the rate that they've been coming out.
Yes. Well, I think that the beginning is not the hard part because we did have, we were working on an album. So there are those tracks that we can use to release. And we're also now starting to work on another record, a children's record for the end of the year. As I said, I think at some point some of the tracks will, rather than having just the rock tracks each week, we'll have some of the kid tracks brought into the Dial-A-Song. There's still more songs written than there are, weeks that have passed, so still got to crank out some songs. So
it's kind of like making comics, so you make a bunch of them ahead of time.
Yeah, I'm sure there are a lot of things like this. We'll have released like 4 records worth of material by the end of the year. Glean will be one of the albums that's already out, just came out this past week, the children's record, and then there'll be at least 2 albums worth of material from other songs that wind up on this service. So it's most bands don't put out 4 records in a year.
Yeah, you guys are amazing. Have you ever called the original Dial-A-Song number just for the heck of it?
I called it years ago when I was not in They Might Be Giants, when I was just a music fan and, had heard about them and called just to, out of curiosity. And I think the song that I heard was the one about the ant crawling on somebody's back, that one. So, so I did call it once years ago, yeah.
Will there be a continuation of Dial-A-Song in 2016?
I can't make that call, and I can't say, but I'm highly doubtful. I think there'll be a rest period.
Yeah, you guys definitely need a break.
Yes, January 2016, I think, will definitely be a little bit of a break. And I think we're touring in February of 2016. It's unannounced yet, but I think that's the plan. So I don't think that I think we'll need a little break.
Could you talk a bit about how you became part of They Might Be Giants?
Sure. I was fortunate enough to be in two bands that were the opening act for They Might Be Giants. I was touring with a band called Mike Viola and Candy Butchers, and we were the opening act for several tours, opening for TMBG. And then I was with a band called Lincoln that also was the opening act for TMBG. And Lincoln we had the same management company. Jamie Kittman and Hornblow Group, who are TMBG's managers, managed Lincoln. We toured opening for TMBG, and then I wound up subbing for Hal Cragen, who was the bass player before me. But one day Flanzy just came up to me and said, hey, Hal's a busy guy, why don't you step it up and start playing with us full time and forget about your other band. And so that's what happened. Yeah, and then about a month later, Dan Miller wound up leaving Lincoln and joining me in TMBG.
Are there segments from live shows in the past that you'd like to see come back, kind of like Spin the Dial?
I loved Spin the Dial. It was always challenging and harrowing. And
was that actually live, like not pre-planned, it's all improvised?
Nothing about it was pre-planned, other than we had the radio on stage. Yeah, no, it's really spontaneous, and that's why it can be harrowing, because you have no idea what's going to come out of the radio or where Flanzy's going to stop. He'll dial through the stations, and he may stop at a Latin station, or he may stop at a news station. And then generally people think of it as, some pop song would come on or a rock song and we would play along to it. But there were times where, like I said, it could be some Latin thing or it could be just somebody talking, and then he would start improvising lyrics and we would improvise a song on top of the news. It was very fun and really off the cuff. Yeah, so I love those kind of things. But rather than looking back, I actually look forward to whatever the next sort of thing like that in the set will be. There may be something like Spin the Dial that we come up with. Recently we've been doing the song Older, and telephone calls come in. It can be from Mama TMBG is one of the characters. Robert Durst is another one. Ex-presidents can be calling in. So there's that whole new segment. I actually look forward to seeing what the newer ones are going to be.
I heard something about a human theremin.
Yes, the human theremin is also, that's brand new too. Yeah, in the middle of the song Robot Parade, we trade solos. Everybody gets to play a little bit of a solo, drums, guitar, keyboard, bass. Flanzy thought he'd incorporate the audience and let them have their time, and so he has them make the sound of a human theremin. Yeah, it's fun. It's all, like I said, that's a new thing, and I'd rather actually see some new things than continue to repeat old ones. Yeah.
That's cool. Is there anything about that you can mention about the upcoming They Might Be Giants Kidz Helm?
What I can mention is I don't think it's going to be themed like the Disney ones were. It'll probably be more just a collection of kid-appropriate songs like the album No was.
I have a premiere copy of that.
Of No?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was terrific fun. That was great. It was a very busy period for TMBG too, because we were doing Malcolm in the Middle at the time, and we were constantly in the studio. Yeah, so that that's about as much as I can say. Is I hope to have a song on it that I haven't. There's a song of mine that's in this international songwriting competition.
Yeah,
that's made it to the finals. It's called Elephants Get Out of the Way, and right now Flanzy's holding on to it with the idea that it will be on the next TMBG children's album. So hopefully that'll be part of it.
Yeah, and congrats again for getting in the finals. That's
it's terrific. Yeah. Something like 20,000 people entered, and it's down to 10 or so. So. Yeah, wow. It's terrific, yeah.
It's really cool. In 2014, your solo project, No School Today, premiered. Were you inspired to create it from your work on the kids' projects with They Might Be Giants?
Absolutely. That and a combination of working with TMBG and writing children's songs for their albums. I wrote a song for the album No called Where They Make Balloons, and then I wrote the number 2 for the Here Come the 1, 2, 3s, and then I'm a Paleontologist on Here Comes Science. And I'm a Paleontologist was a hit within the kids' music community. And it was tremendously fun to play live, and the response from the fans was great. And so I continued to write more children's songs, hoping for the next TMBG Kids record. And after a certain point, my wife was like, you should just write a few more and you'll have your own album's worth. You might as well release your own record. And I just kept saying, yeah. And then finally, as can be, common with couples, I finally took her advice. And but she sings on the record. My son Kai sings on the record. My daughter Lena talks on the record. So it was really like a family project. But definitely, it was triggered by working with TMBG for sure. I learned a lot about making songs for children through working with them, and just sort of appreciated that whole other aspect of making music. I'd been making music for television and playing in rock bands, but I never even thought about children's music until we did Know.
I'm curious because I think I tried Indiegogo. What was your experience using Kickstarter to promote No School Today and raising funds for that project?
It was an absolutely fantastic experience. I was really unsure of it before I started. I didn't know if I'd get any response for one thing, and I also felt a little strange about asking people to sort of subsidize something that I was working on. And I talked to a few people about it, and they, their strong feeling was that, this is about the fans. If fans want to be involved, then they'll choose to be involved. You're not twisting anybody's arm, you're offering rewards, etc. And the outpouring of response from the TMBG fans and maybe other fans, I hope, some of them were not TMBG fans, but it was overwhelming. It was so fast, and so I went far above what I had asked for initially. People were not only making monetary donations, they were contacting me and offering their help. Can I help you, send out the discs when you do your fulfillments of the rewards? Can I make videos for you? Can I, come and drive the car for your band? Like, just the outpouring of, love from TMBG fans was unbelievable. And also the support from the guys in the band, from Flanzy and from the rest of the band. They were totally behind me in lots of different ways, monetarily even, but also just Flans listened to the songs and offered suggestions for the record, and then when it came time to do the Kickstarter, he got on social media. I told the story before, and I think it's on the wiki, but there was one night we were on tour in Europe, and I was about halfway to my goal of $13,000, and Flanzy got me from $6,500 to over $13,000 in that night, in one night on tour. And he did it, he spent the whole night doing it and left a message for me, so when I woke up I saw that I had met my goal. It was absolutely incredible. Yeah, and I could have cried. He didn't have to do that, and it just was amazing. Yeah, so I had a wonderful experience with that.
I'm glad everybody had the outpouring support for your project. I really endorse anybody working on projects for kids.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
And it's a tough time in the music business, so it's great that there are some other ways of doing things rather than what formerly was the traditional way of doing things. Yeah.
Oh, this is kind of funny. I remember you made a typo via Facebook using the word marsupial, but I had asked you what your favorite marsupial was. Is it still a quokka?
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah. Absolutely. They're like the quokkas that we met on. I guess it's called Rotsness Island or something off of Perth.
Island.
Yeah. They were domesticated. You could pet them. You could hang out with them.
They don't care.
Yeah. It was really, they were like the cutest animals, or cutest marsupials. They were amazing. They were incredible. Yeah, so I don't know that any other marsupial would take the place of them unless I had to pet something. Yeah.
What was touring down in Australia like?
Oh, fantastic. In fact, I think we're headed back this November. I've said in the past to people that when I talked about the trip, if it were closer to the United States, I think I would consider moving there and living there with my family. I love the weather, I love the people. It's a wonderful place. And then this past trip, we spent some time in New Zealand, which I might even like New Zealand better than Australia.
That happened with friends. They actually went down there to visit, and they were like, "We're moving there."
Yeah.
It took them 9 months, and then they did it.
Wow. Yeah. See, I can't. I have too many roots here. It's a really terrific place. We were treated really, really well when we were there. So it was one of some of the most fun touring we've ever had. I think it's been in Australia.
Did you do the geeky Lord of the Rings site tour?
We did our own version of that. Dan Miller and Marty Beller and I went to one of the forests where they filmed Lord of the Rings stuff, and Dan, who was the most familiar with that stuff, would stop us occasionally and say, "Oh, we have to go back 100 feet. I need to take a picture next to such and such a tree because that's where something happened in the movie," and Marty and I would make fun of him, and then we'd take our photo. And
his inner fanboy came out.
Even if you hadn't seen any of the movies, that whole area is beautiful. You're in the hills, in the woods, overlooking the city, by the water. The combination of all of that is rare to find anywhere. So yeah, it was terrific. Yeah, yes, we did do the goofy Lord of the Rings thing.
I'm trying not to laugh too much because it's going to be my. In the last track of No School Today features the song The Kidney That Lived in Four People. I was curious what inspired it. I've known a few recipients and it kind of touched home with me.
It was inspired by Hank Green, who I co-wrote the song with. I don't know if you're familiar with Hank, but Hank is sort of an internet phenomenon. He's all over YouTube. His brother is John Green, who is the author who wrote The Fault in Our Stars and Looking for Alaska and all those books. Hank and John call themselves the Vlog Brothers, and they do this thing where they talk to each other from different parts of the country, but they also are uber geeks, but in a great way. Like Hank has many videos with like topics on psychology or science, and I think John does history. And so like my son who's in high school, if he wants to review for a biology test, he'll go and look at their videos, and they'll have like a 10-minute summary of all the general principles of a certain topic or whatever, and they're really in-depth and excellently done. Anyway, so Hank is a super smart guy. He also likes music and has made albums of his own. Sort of an amateur songwriter, but super smart, interesting guy. So I reached out to him and suggested we write a song together. And then, you know, because he's such a quick thinker, he's like, oh, there's so many things we could write about this, we could write about that. You know, there's this person who had there was a kidney that lived in 4 people, and I said, wait, stop right there. Okay, what is that about? And the kidney that lived in 4 people is a true story. There was a kidney, a little girl who had a kidney, obviously had 2 kidneys. Brother needed a kidney transplant. They took one of her kidneys and transplanted it into her brother. For some reason, it wasn't really helping him. But there was another person in the hospital at the time that was the same kidney type who would have benefited from it, so they took it out of her brother and put it in this other person. So there's 3 people. And then, so Hank initially was talking about it online as a kidney that lived in 3 people, but then he realized when that girl was in the mom's belly, that kidney actually lived in 4 different people. So we came up with the song, The Kidney That Lived in 4 People. And if you follow the lyrics, the names are changed. But the story is a factual story. That kidney actually did live in 4 people. And you can look it up online. I had a nephrologist, a kidney specialist, actually contact me after the song was released, asking about it. And then they researched and came back to me like, oh, yeah, I saw what you were talking about, etc. Wow. So, yeah, it's a true story. Yeah, it's not just freakish, it's true.
No, I believe it. I was just like, what scenario?
Yeah. It's definitely odd, but quirky and funny in a way, too. So,
do you have plans for a future solo album?
Absolutely, yeah. I have another Kidz record done, and I'm just sort of trying to figure out what the best time to release it is. Glean just came out last week, and with a Kidz record coming out at the end of the year for TMEG, I may try to release it this summer to sort of stay out of their path a little bit, but I haven't picked a date yet. But I have 20-some-odd songs already finished and mixed and mastered. I've been releasing singles here and there just because I have an excess of songs, so certainly planning on doing another one, yes.
Could you leave us with some words to live by?
Words to live by? Oh my gosh. Be nice. Yeah, I don't know much more than anybody else. Just love each other. Love everybody. Be nice to everybody. Those are my words to live by.
Well, again, thank you very, very much for sitting down.
Sure, absolutely. I'm sorry, my friend Suzanne, who actually co-wrote Together We Can Fly, she wrote some of the lyrics for that, and Our Love Fits, which is on No School Today. She's nominated for an Emmy, and the Emmys, she's on her way there now.
Was that the message you just got?
Yeah, that's the message I got. She's on her way to the Emmy. She says, wish me luck.
Congrats! You can't hear me, but congrats.
Yeah, she won last year, so.
On the iPhone.
Yeah. Anyway, well, so that's a good way to end an interview, maybe.
Yes. So, what was your friend's name?
Her name is Suzanne Luna.
Suzanne Luna, congrats, and thank you very much.
Yeah, sure, you're welcome. It was my pleasure.